2 Corinthians, I'm sorry. It says Satan is the god of this world. And he blinds the minds of them that don't believe. In Ephesians 2, Paul said he's the prince of the power
Of the air.
of the air.
Yeah.
The spirit that now works in what?
Children of disobedience.
Children. And he's got a course that he's charted out to keep them captive. The course to this world. And we think we function on our own. I remember watching the movie, I can't think of the name of it, Jim Carrey. And they had everything staged. His whole life was staged.
Oh.
Everywhere he went, everything he did, the scenery, the people,
Yeah.
everything was, it was, they were watching him on the TV.
Yeah.
You remember the name of that movie?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember the movie, but I can't think of the name.
And they were manipulating
Wasn't Ed TV?
all of it. The
Yeah.
props, I mean, the people, and every day they do the same thing. And he's thinking, you know what? He's functioning like he's got choices. He's
Right,
making choices,
right.
but they're manipulating things behind the scenes to keep him in that set. You still don't remember the name of it, huh?
But
Wow.
I know.
But anyway,
Oh, The Truman Show.
The Truman Show.
That's right.
Thank you. And finally, he's well, we won't get into that. But anyway, he gets to a point where he wanted to see what's behind this landscape. And when he gets there, they cause a wave, everything to keep him from going. Because if he gets back there, he'll find out that I've been a puppet, that I've been a pawn, that I've been enslaved. And he wanted to be free. Most people don't know that they're puppets, pawns, they're enslaved. They need to be redeemed. They need to be ransomed. And we go day to day, you know what? We think that we make our own choices, but we don't know when sin says go, you go. If you're not saved. If you don't have the power, to do it, when he says go, you go.
But you think you're in charge.
But you think you're in
If
charge.
you do it and that you're on top of it all.
That's why Paul said, sin, it deceived me. And by, you know what? By these things, it slew me. And that sin, when he saw it for what it was, it became exceeding sinful. He said, I'm a mess. I need some help. And the only person that can help you is the Lord.
Yeah.
He's the only one that can redeem you. He's the only one that can recover you out of the grip. Somebody's got you. Sin and Satan. You know what Satan does is he knows what you're working with.
Yeah.
He knows you have a deficit. So he tailors this system to keep you defeated. That's why it's called the course of this world. Look at Ephesians chapter 2. I want you to go back and say, Frank said that. And it sticks a little deeper. It sticks a little more when you read it for yourself. Ephesians chapter 2. He says, and you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein, in your trespasses and sins, in time past, you walked according to the what?
Course of this world.
According to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now what? Worketh in the children of disobedience. It works. It's working now. When you see people, how could he do that? How could that happen? There's something working in those people. Something was working in me when I was unsaved to keep me in bondage. Verse 3, he says, among whom, among those unsaved, we all had our conversation in times past, excuse me, in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature what?
Children of wrath.
Even as others.
Yeah.
You deserved it. You deserved wrath. You're in bondage. And he said, you know, it worked in us. You don't like to recall those days, but you remember those days when you were a slave to sin, don't you? Thought you were free, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got out of college, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to Detroit and I'm going to live it up. You know what I mean? Live it up. Like, I'm going to live it up. And came up here and got saved. Well, not up here, but Detroit, and got saved. And at first I thought about it, I said, I don't know just enough to know that I was in bondage before.
Yeah.
And that'll get you, because you think about it, you say, man, I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
None of the stuff that I wanted to do. Because, you know what, I realized that I was in bondage to the flesh, I was in bondage to the world, I was in bondage to the devil, and then the Lord comes in. When he frees you, he lets you know you're free. And you just cannot, with a good conscience, go back into the prison camp. So you waffle with that for a while. You're like, man, I had plans for this old body. Although it wasn't good for me. But now, you know what? I appreciate my freedom now. I appreciate my redemption that he has obtained for me. But we see that the Spirit, it works to keep you in bondage. But we have to be, you know what? Delivered. You have to be freed. In Romans 6, he said, looking back in Romans 6. Verse 6. He says, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not what? Serve sin. For he that is dead is what?
Free from sin.
You know what sets you free? What will get you out of the bondage? Is death.
That ain't the old body.
And he says, but he that is dead is what? Freed from sin. Not only that, you're free from the law. In chapter 7, Paul says that. You're free from the law. When you trust Christ, you know what? Something happens. What Paul said in chapter 3, through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. He's got enough to free you. His blood has enough power in it, enough redeeming power in it to free you. From Satan, from the flesh, from the law, from the world. You know what Peter says, you know what? It's the precious blood.
Yeah.
Hebrews, he says, not possible that the blood of bulls and goats could free you. He said, but this blood can what? It can free you. Why? Because it's not ordinary blood.
It's not tainted with sin.
In Matthew, when Joseph and Mary, or Joseph was kind of debating whether I should do this, the angel said, don't be afraid to take her as your wife, because that what's in her
It's
is
of
of
the
the,
Holy
it's of the Holy.
Spirit.
It's an incorruptible seed. That separates Jesus. That separates him from the rest.